Find the derivative of y equals tangent of square root of 4 minus t squared. Y here is a trig function, the tangent of an entire expression, square root of 4 minus t squared. Because we have a radical, we're going to want to rewrite that as a fractional exponent. Now that's 4 minus t squared to the 1 power and second or square root, so 1 over 2. That 1 over 2 power is only on the 4 minus t squared. It is not on the tangent. The tangent is done last here. The tangent is the outermost function. So the derivative, y prime, which can also be called dy dt, is going to start by the derivative of the outermost, the tangent, which will be secant squared, and we'll leave the inside alone, so I'm going to write the first version of the inside, the radical version. But since the inside is not just a t, but rather an entire expression, we have to, for the chain rule, multiply by the derivative of that inside. That's where the second version of the inside will be useful for taking its derivative. Now we're going to take the derivative of that. Notice that has a power of 1/2 outside, so we start with its power rule. We bring the power down. We subtract 1 from it. I will call that 2/2. But because that quantity that's raised to the power is not just a t, but rather an entire expression, we have to again multiply by the derivative of the inside. It's a double chain rule. The derivative of the inside will be a 0, minus 1, and then minus 2t. The next step is to rewrite this to make it look a little bit nicer. So this will equal to, I'm just going to rewrite the secant squared exactly as we see it. We have a 1/2. I'm going to leave that alone for now. We have a 4 minus t squared. It will now be to the 1 minus 2, or negative 1/2 power. And then we have negative 1 minus 2t. The negative 1/2 power means it can move to the denominator, which will put it down with the 2. There's a 2 in the denominator with that 1/2. But only that quantity will move to the denominator with the 2. So let's move it to the denominator. We can call it a positive 1/2 power then. In the numerator, I have a secant squared of the square root of 4 minus t squared, and I also have a negative 1 minus 2t. They're multiplying each other. I'm going to write the negative 1 minus 2t first, and then the secant squared of the square root of 4 minus t squared, and all of this divided by, there's a 2 already down there from the 1/2, and then we have a 4 minus t squared to the positive 1/2 power. The only thing left to do is perhaps factor a negative out of the first expression in the numerator. So we'll move a negative out, and we'll have a 1 plus 2t. Maybe looks a little nicer then. And we have a secant squared of the square root of 4 minus t squared. And all of this divided by 2 times. Now 1/2 power means first power and second root or square root. So just square root of 4 minus t squared. And there's our derivative, y prime, or dy dt.